In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. Muhammad is his messenger. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is our divine reminder and warner in our midst. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Jock Brothers Presents Let Us Make Man, a podcast of brothers that desires nothing more than to present a positive image as to what a striving man of God should be. For we all are businessmen. We all are family men that love our children. We all are youth mentors, and we all work hard in our communities to make it a decent and safe place to live. When putting this podcast together, we decided to govern our rules, our actions by 3 rules, and 1 was to put God first in all that we do. 2, to present content to podcasts that can make you a better you. And 3, to showcase brotherhood and unity amongst men that you could be proud of. My name is Brother Abdul Kawi Muhammad. I'm a brother that's very interested in the beginning of things, the root of things, motivations and inspirations. And so my questions will be governed by that spirit. Let me get into the other host of the other Jock Brothers. I'm going to go to my brother Ahmed B.I., born and raised in New York City. This brother travels all over the planet. I love his travel schedule. Right now, this brother is the producer of the show. If you want to have a successful team, you put him on your team. My brother, Ahmed B.I.
Praise be to God, praise be to God, name of our the merciful. Thank you all for joining on, taking time out of your busy schedules to join us on the show. It's a blessing to be here with Brother Abdul, and the information that we're going to get tonight is going to be impounding, impactful, wealth of knowledge. I just wanted to say, with the Jock Brothers, we're live 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can view us on YouTube. You can view us on Instagram and Facebook at Jock Brothers. You can also view us at www.jockbrothers.com. www.jockbrothers.com. If you have any information to give us, you can go on to jockbrothersviewers@gmail.com. Send us any information at jockbrothersviewers@gmail.com. I'd like to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules. We are working towards getting the Final Call newspaper, the baddest Black-owned newspaper, behind walls to our brothers and sisters that are incarcerated. If you want to help us out and assist us in that endeavor, please send any information to any family members that you may have to jockbrothersviewers@gmail.com. jockbrothersviewers@gmail.com. If you want to support Jock Brothers, you can support us at Jock Bros, Cash App at Jock Bros, Cash App at Jock Bros. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules. Back to you, Brother Carl.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I want to introduce a guest host we have today. Thrilled to have this brother join us. This brother here was born in New York City, Brooklyn, New York, to be a matter of fact. But he was raised in Guyana. Did I pronounce that right, brother? And this brother, Guyana. This is this brother's 25th anniversary as a member of the Nation of Islam. This brother right here is president of A-Rated Fleet and a founding member of the Supreme Investors. My brother, Warren Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you, Brother Kawi and Jock Brothers, for such a wonderful show and for allowing me to be a co-host. I want to thank our dear esteemed guest, Brother Abdul Muhammad, for coming on. We look forward to hearing from you, Brother Abdul, because we know what you're going to say to our audience today is going to be mind-blowing, something that they need for their life in order to live. So I'm excited. I know our other co-hosts are excited, and let's get this show going.
I'm ready, my brothers.
Praise be to Allah. So with no further ado, let's get to the guest of the hour. brother, this brother right here joined the Nation of Islam in 1990 when he was a freshman in college. He attended Southern University and AML College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Now, this brother here is an award-winning sought-after speaker and educator. He won Teacher of the Year, and he has been featured in the Who's Who amongst high school teachers 4 times. He was nominated twice for the prestigious Apple Award. And this brother has been a long time student minister under the leadership of our Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam. With no further ado, and with a Jock Brothers round of applause, I would like to introduce to you our brother, Abdul Muhammad. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, my brothers.
Alaikum salam, sir.
Alaikum salam, sir.
In opening words,
My brothers, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, we give him praise and thanks for coming in the person of Master Farad Muhammad and raising up the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and granting to us out of his grace, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I would like to greet your listeners, your viewers, with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum, which simply means peace be unto you. I would like to thank you, brothers, for having me on the show to talk about this timely subject. Anything that is dealing with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is critical and timely. And when we give those teachings to our people, it helps in what is called the process of resurrection that we all are a part of. We're all in that process right now. And the teacher and the number one resurrector is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Our young brothers, I work with young people, and this show is focused from what you said in your introduction on Black men. And our young brothers are in the streets of New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Philadelphia. Don't get mad if I didn't name your city. It's too many to name. But our brothers are in the streets right now without guidance and without direction. And the only saving power for the Black man is the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches transforms human life.
come on,
It's
bro.
just a fact. Every one of us was ignorant in the grave of ignorance. And when the light of Islam came to us through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, when the light of Islam came to us, our lives were completely transformed. So this is the work of the Nation of Islam. It is the transformation of human life. How do we know that God is present? We know that God is present because of his ability to transform human lives of those that believe in him. So I'm glad to be on the show. I'm ready for, we can have a no holds barred conversation. And
Right.
I'll follow your lead, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Praise
So
the
let's get
Lord.
right to it. Go ahead, man. You saying something?
No, man. I just want to say that I was happy to read the book. We're taught to be right down to the modern time, and a lot
Yes,
of your
sir.
references are right down to the modern time today, where our young brothers and sisters could relate to. Thank you
Yes,
for
sir.
that. This
Thank you.
book.
All praises due to Allah. Yes, sir.
So let's just get started. The book that we're going over his book. Now, this brother has other books and other topics that he want to dab into, but he specifically requested that we get into his book called Going Ham. And so just to get going, just with the book, let's talk about the title. How did you come up with the title?
So, brothers, when we teach, as my brother Ahmed just said, we have to be down to the modern time, and we have to approach the teachings in a way that attracts the mind of the listener. So who is our teacher? Our teacher is Master Farad Muhammad, right? He is the one who taught the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we're coming up on July 4th, which is the 94th anniversary of his making himself known among us.
Right.
But we also have been taught that he was coming in and out of America for 20 years before he made himself known. So the question is, What was he doing in that 20-year period before he made himself known to us? He was doing many things, but one of the things that he was doing was developing a methodology to reach the mind of a dead man.
All right.
So when the Orthodox Muslims, as they're called, when we see them at the corner store, right? We see them at the liquor store. We see them and they selling us a blunt or a swisher, but they're not trying to teach us Islam. And the reason they're not trying to teach us Islam is because they don't have a methodology. Even if they did try to teach it, they don't have a methodology that attracts the mind of the black man and woman in America. They don't have that. So Master Farad Muhammad came up with a method that would appeal to the black man and woman. So you asked me why I named the book Going Ham. It's the same reason. Because I wanted a method, a way to approach the subject where our brothers and sisters could understand. So we know what going ham means. Going ham, I'm not going to say it because, we're on a Muslim show. But we know that, and most black folks know what going ham means. It means going hard, right?
Right.
So I borrowed that from our brothers in the hip hop community and just, transposed it into the lecture. But that's what going ham means. So I use that as a methodology to attract the mind of the people who would read the book.
Now, in reading the book, just looking at the title, Going Ham, right, and you have the swan in the front, one would think that this book is primarily about pork or swine or the reasons not to eat it. But in your case, this book is primarily about the dietary laws that God set forth for us.
Yes, sir.
You expound on that.
So, brother, you asked me earlier and I didn't get a chance to tell you, but I'll say it now. So there's three main points that in How to Eat to Live, when you get these books, and because this man is the teacher right here. So when you get this book by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live, book 1 and 2, there are three main points that he makes. And one of those points is to remove all pork from your diet. That's the number one thing, the biggest thing that we need to get off of as a people. Now, I know some of us are Muslims and we say, well, man, I don't eat pork. Hopefully we don't. I don't eat pork or the byproducts. Hopefully we don't, right? Which most of us don't. But we have millions of our people who do eat pork, right? So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that that's number one. Why is that number one? Because when you consume pork, you're putting a living poison inside of your body. So teaches the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the form of a parasitic worm called a trichina worm. So the number one thing that he talks about in this book is to remove pork from your diet, right? Number one. So I started with that. When you read the book, I start with that. And because I've been teaching black folks a long time, right? And so black people, when you teach them, we have every excuse, right? Not to listen, not to change. So I said, look, I'm removing every excuse. So when you go through the book, I step by step remove every excuse that people make for why to eat pork. Some people say, well, they said not to eat pork back in the Bible days because they didn't have refrigerators, right? Remove every excuse, right? Some people say, well, I'm not going to listen to nothing from a book written 3,000 years ago. So I brought the science that proves everything the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches, right?
All right.
So now the number two thing that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, number one is remove pork from your diet. That's number one. Number two is to eat one meal a day between the hours of 4 and 6. So 1 meal a day. And the third most important thing in the book, he said, is to eat the proper food at the proper time. So those are the three main points. So that is what I broke down in the lecture. Again, remove pork from your diet. Pork and pork byproducts. That's number one. That's paramount. Number two is to eat 1 meal a day. And number three is to eat the proper foods at the proper time. So let me just say this real quick before we go to the next question. If you telling people that, they don't need to drink milk, but you're not telling them that they don't need to eat pork, then you put in the cart before the horse. All them other things that we talk about are secondary. Number one, according to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, is removing pork from our diet.
Number
So
one.
that's why that one was primary. And of course, we dealt with a few other things as well, but pork is number one.
Okay.
I wanted
Okay.
to say while you was on that you know, I grew up in a nation, so we always was taught to read the labels.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Even when I got a little older in my teens, everyone was joining the 5% Nation, and that was a big thing in my neighborhood. So we was deep into reading all. But you opened up a can of worms with the 1-800 number, because I never paid attention to that. And today while I was reading your book, even today I was going over, every time I picked up a product, I saw that it was a 1-800 number on it. So you're relieving us of all excuses.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll say this, brother, because it's so like, I've been in the nation, like I came in the nation in 1990, right? You couldn't even find a vegetarian restaurant in most cities in 1990. So, and I'm only bringing it up because the world has changed, right? It wasn't no Whole Foods, grocery store, and places like that where you could go and get all of these. It wasn't no organic foods. That didn't exist. All of that came about because of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad changed the way people think about food. It's just a fact. We even got to argue that. That's just a fact. But now it's so easy that they have apps that you can download, and the app will tell you the foods that has the pork byproducts or doesn't have the pork byproducts. But of course, I like to deal with actual facts. So you can get the app, you know. I got trust issues, you know. So, and I like to do my own research. I'm sorry, brothers. So I would get the app still. But when I was doing the research for the book and for the lecture, I was calling these companies on the phone and asking them about, do they have any pork byproducts, animal byproducts, and getting actual facts from them, because they'll send you a letter stating there's no pork, there's no X, Y, and Z. You know, so I would say for the listeners, whatever is more comfortable for you. But if you going in the store thinking I'm not eating pork meat, right? But you're not reading the ingredients on toothpaste, you're not reading sodium tallowate is the number one ingredient in soap, is pig fat that they use to make soap, right? So if you're not reading the ingredients on shampoo, you're not reading the ingredients on the different things that we use in our daily life, then you may still have pork, you know, all around you. If you brushing your hair with a boar bristle, I know I'm hurting the brothers' feelings. They like, man, brother, I can't get no waves. In the nation, I can't get no waves without this pig brush. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, brother. Just, you know, they have all different kind of options today, you know.
Yes, sir.
But it's up to us. The responsibility is on us. It's not on nobody else, right? The responsibility is on us to know what we're consuming, what we're using in our house, what we're using with our family. And the difference today is, as you all know who are here, there was a time like toothpaste that didn't have certain ingredients. Like, come on, man. That it was hard to come by. But today there's so many different options, it makes it easier for us. And I know what somebody is saying, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it in this book. Well, see, Brother Abdul, oh man, that stuff is more expensive. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says right here, it says either you're going to spend the money on the food that is more expensive, or you're going to spend the money on the doctor. You're not getting out of spending no money. So you might as well spend it on the food and have good health, because it's no shortcuts in this thing.
Yes, sir.
Now, did you have a question, Brother One, before I go?
Yeah. Man, this is great. Brother Abdul, now I'm going to play devil's advocate for
Yes, sir.
the quote unquote Christian society, because most of the Christian society is going to say, well, you know, it says in the scriptures, you can eat everything because God has said so. And so the two-part question I have is, one, what are the health risks of eating pork?
Mm-hmm.
And you know how, you know, back, some people say, well, you know, my grandmother, she lived till 100 years old and She
Right.
been eating pork her whole life, and ain't nothing happened to her. So
Okay, so
Take it, my
there's a
brother.
lot to unpack, and I don't want to miss any single part of what you just said, but there's a lot to unpack. So the first thing you said is that there are people who say, our Christian brothers and sisters, who say they use this this Bible verse, right, where Peter sees a vision of all of these different foods coming down, right, in the vision, and he says to God in the vision that these foods are unclean, right? And then God says to Peter that he has made nothing unclean. That's in the Bible. When we start talking about pork, then some Christians use that to justify eating whatever they want to eat. So let's see. We say as Muslims that in the Old Testament, in Leviticus 11 verse 7 and 8, that God says not to eat it, right? And God says not to touch it, right? Then in Deuteronomy chapter 14, Leviticus means the law, right? Deuteronomy means, because Moses was dealing with hard-headed Negroes, so he had to repeat himself, just like the minister got to repeat himself. Deuteronomy means the second saying of the law, right? So you get it in Leviticus 11:7, you get it in Deuteronomy chapter 14, right? I believe verse 7 and 8. But so now the Old Testament is clear that swine and a lot of other foods, but we're talking about pork, is prohibited for the children of Israel. The Old Testament is clear. We get to the New Testament, right? And Jesus says out of his mouth in the book of Matthew, I don't have the chapter and verse right in front of me. It might be chapter 5, it might be chapter 7. But Jesus says in the book of Matthew that he didn't come to change the law. Right? This is Jesus, who we all say we follow. He said, I didn't come to change the law. What is the law? The law is the law of Moses, right? I came to fulfill the law. So what does fulfill mean? Fulfill means Moses said don't eat it, right? He said don't eat it. I came to fulfill it. I came to build a world based on the law that Moses taught, that y'all not following. I came to do what Moses said, right? If you go and somebody says, look, you order something off Amazon, the man show up at your house and he says, I came to fulfill your order. What is he telling you? I got what you was looking at, what you was talking about. I got it right here in my hand. So if Jesus came to fulfill the law, then Jesus came to put in place what Moses was teaching. So that's the first part, right? So now, but this vision that Peter had, right? So now, let me say this. Jesus, his disciples, and all of those people, the early Christians, none of them ate pork because they followed the law of Moses. And according to Christians, Jesus is the fulfiller. So Jesus never had pork. Jesus never ate pork. Jesus sent the demons into the swine, right? It's all right there in the Bible, right? So then you got this vision that they misinterpret on purpose to justify, right? In the New Testament, God is telling the disciples that they can take the teaching of Jesus. If you read the Bible, when the Samaritan woman came to Jesus, and Jesus said that he was sent only to the children of Israel, right? And the Samaritan woman is like, will you take the children's bread? Now listen to Jesus. I was sent only to the house of Israel. This is Jesus. The woman says, will you take the children's bread and give it to dogs? It's right there in the Bible. And Jesus says, oh woman, great is thy faith, be it unto you, even as thou wilt. It's right there in the Bible. Why am I bringing it up? Because Jesus only went to the children of Israel, who he was missioned to. After Jesus ascends, now the mission of Jesus expands to the Gentiles. The disciples who were with Jesus, in this case, Peter, who had the vision. Peter was reluctant to take the message of Jesus and give it to the Gentiles because the Jews saw them as unclean. So then God gave Peter a vision, and in the vision, all of these unclean foods came down, and in the vision, God says to Peter that there's nothing that I made that is unclean. Okay, so now, So the vision is not talking about you eating a ham sandwich. The vision is talking about the disciples taking the teachings of Jesus to a people who they considered unclean. All right. So now, okay.
Yes.
Because you still got Negroes right now in the chat. Like, I don't, if you
That's
say
right.
that all you have to do is pray over it, right? Come on. Well, let's take that. Like, if your child drinks some bleach, why you calling poison control? Why do they have a poison control number on the back of anything that's poisonous? You take too much toothpaste. If your child is little and they eat toothpaste, on the back of the toothpaste tube, what does it say? If this is consumed, call poison control. Guess what it don't say? It don't say if this is consumed, start praying. Jesus made everything clean. Come on, man. What are we talking about? So the logic that our Christian brothers and sisters use is false logic, and they're using it just to justify what they want to do, right? How do we know it's false? Because as soon as they get in front of the doctor, and they got high blood pressure, they got cancer, right? They got all these diseases, right? They have arteriosclerosis, right? The hardening of the arteries. As soon as they get in front of the doctor, they just had a stroke and they can only use one side of their body. And the doctor starts to tell them, you need to lay off the pork. Now, all of a sudden, them excuses are not. So come on, what are we talking about? So, that's the first part. So I had to unpack that because that's an excuse that people use. Can you remind me of the other two questions that you had?
The other one was, some people say, well, my grandmother, she lived to 100 years old. She been pork her whole life.
Right.
Ain't nothing wrong with pork.
Brother, the lowest there's different levels of evidence. I'm hoping I can remember all of them, right? Because there's 5 levels of evidence, right? Number 1 is like a personal witness. Like one person, this happened to them, right? That's the lowest level of evidence. So a person saying my grandmother lived to be 100, right, is the lowest level of evidence. The next lowest level of evidence is a few witnesses, right? So like it's 30 people in a room and 3 of them say my grandmother lived to be 97, right? That's the second lowest level of evidence because you now have a few witnesses saying what you said, right? Okay. The middle or the third least, right, is a study, one study, right? So if somebody does a study, you may be looking at 40, 50 people, 100 people in a study, right? The next one is multiple studies. So you may look at 2 different studies, right? And in those 2 different studies, you may be able to draw certain conclusions, right? The highest level of evidence is what we call the preponderance of evidence, right? And the preponderance of evidence, what does that mean? When you have the number 1 killer in the United States, and has been number 1 for since we've been alive, the last 50 years, has been heart disease. So you mean to tell me heart disease has been the number 1 killer in the United States for the last 50 years? What is that? That is the preponderance of evidence. You understand? Not one uncle, one cousin, one grandmother, right? We're looking at millions of people who have died because of heart disease or because the hardening of the arteries or from strokes. You follow what I'm saying? When we look at the top 10 causes of death in the United States, heart disease has been at the top since they've been tracking, if I remember correctly, but at least for the last 50 years. So the highest level of evidence is or proof is the preponderance of evidence. So that's that. But here's this. How did your grandmother look? For those you say, well, my grandmother was 100. I've seen some of them. How did she look when she was 100? You understand? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is 91.
Right.
And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, if you look at him, he don't look like he's 91. You follow me? And that is because of the diet that we all have adopted as a result of following the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. which of course is no pork, but it's also 1 meal a day, 1 meal every 24 hours. So I hope I answered that question. I thought there was another part, but I hope I answered that.
Beautiful. I do have a question as well.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, sir. So I have a question as well. This actually come from Ahmed. He had to leave, so we thank Ahmed for joining us. But his question was, why can't we trust the culture symbols that's on the bags? I guess the U with the circle, the triangle. Why can't we trust them anymore?
Yeah, so brother, because kosher doesn't mean halal. You know, when we first came in the nation, those of us who came in the nation like in the 90s, halal wasn't a term that we even were familiar with, right? The term that we were familiar, because there was not a lot of influx of immigrant Muslims. So the term halal, even when you read How to Eat to Live, the term halal was not a term that was used. But a Jewish person, the Holy Quran says that Muslims and Jews eat the same food, right?
Right.
And so a Jewish rabbi who is following the law of Moses can deem a food kosher, and it will not have any pork byproducts, right? And that was the case. But again, in How to Eat to Live, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad says that they commercialize on everything. Some of these companies know that during Passover, that Jewish people will purchase the product if it says that it's kosher. So some of these companies purchase the symbols, or some of them get rabbis. So there's different types of Jews. They're not all the same, right? You have, I'm trying to remember the term for the majority of Jews. It's going to come Reform Jews. Reform Jews, which is the majority of Jews in the United States, don't necessarily follow the dietary law of Moses. A lot of them do not, right? So we want to make sure that what we eat is based on what the Holy Quran says and doesn't have any pork or pork byproducts. So kosher alone is not enough. And again, this is why I say to everyone, I mean, it's 2024 and we have the technology right in our hand to get the information that we need. You can call the company, you can get the app, you can research the ingredients on a lot of the information is on their website. So it's not like the early 90s when we first came in and we were just relying on reading the labels or calling the 1-800 number. We actually got the information right in our hand to determine what we're eating and what we're bringing for our families.
So when you say it's not alone, are you saying that to a degree that's a good starting point, but just don't?
Yeah, I wouldn't, brother. I would not rely on that alone. I would, if you have, so again, some for sure, right? But if you're not sure, then I'm like, it's so easy just to call them or to look it up. If you're reading the ingredients and you're not sure about a certain ingredient, so for example, magnesium stearate, some of these things can come from pigs and some of them can come from vegetables, right? So if you're reading the ingredients and it says magnesium stearate, you don't know because it's not going to say on there that it comes from a vegetable source or a meat source.
Right.
So then if you see magnesium stearate or polysorbate, then you want to call the company and get actual facts and ask them, does your whatever product or your food or whatever have animal byproducts, pork byproducts, and get actual facts. Because not monosodium glutamate, pardon me, but mono and diglycerides can come from pigs, right? Mono and diglycerides can come from a vegetable source, right? You have, when we eat cheese is made with rennet. Sometimes that rennet can come from a cow, right? And sometimes that rennet can come from a pig. So like we want to have actual facts. And so you just can't rely on the name of the ingredient alone because some comes from animal source, a pig source, and some might come from a vegetable source. And I'm saying your health is the number one most important thing that you can cherish. So go on the website, call the 1-800 number and get actual facts.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Now, earlier you said I think this the number 2 of the most important rules you should follow behind not eating pork was to eat once every 24 hours.
Right.
All right. So I have some buddies that text me personally on my phone.
Mhm.
This might be a little funny, but they said that's just extreme intermittent fasting. Now we know that messenger came out with that first, but they said it's just extreme intermittent fasting.
You know, brother, the sad reality, and I want to say this because before I even get to that, our show today is dealing with going ham, the truth about pork, but also because the theme of the Jock Brothers is let us make man. As men, we have to protect our health as men. Why do we need to protect our health as men? Because we want to preserve our lives so that we can be there for our families, for our wives, and for our children, right? The prostate cancer is curable if you get to it in time, right? Okay. The number one people or person, male group that die from prostate cancer is Black men. Prostate cancer is treatable and curable. So it's no reason for any Black man to die from prostate cancer because it's treatable and curable. Are y'all with me? So yes, as men, we have to value our health, right? And this is what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching us and has been teaching us since 1930. So now here we are in 2024. Now, again, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad started saying this in 1930, you know, even before the book How to Eat to Live was printed, telling us as Black people that we need to eat 1 meal a day. This is answering the brother's question. So now when he started teaching this, the white scientists, I need tell the brother to Google what I'm saying right now.
I will. Well,
he's listening. Google what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is actual facts. When the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad started teaching us to eat 1 meal a day in the 1930s, the white scientists and doctors were saying that you need to smoke a cigarette a day in order to stay healthy. I'm gonna let that marinate. Now you can pull up, like they got, like you can go get the ads from the newspapers and the magazines from the 40s and 50s, where they're saying that smoke a cigarette a day in order to stay healthy. Now what? Hold on. In 1930, listen to what Master, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad used to smoke cigars. Listen to what Master Farad Muhammad told him in the 30s. He said, brother, smoking a cigarette is like one man standing behind another man with a 45 and pulling the trigger. That's what the Master Farad Muhammad told the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That conversation is in this book. So now, to that brother's point, here we are in 2024. And with that brother, I don't know the brother, but would he smoke cigarettes? Are cigarettes healthy? Of course not, right? Why am I saying this? Because what God gave the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was so far in advance of what the white scientists were teaching that it took them 94 years to catch up with what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was teaching. So now here we are in 2024, and our brother texted you and said that's extreme intermittent fasting when all they did was steal what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had been teaching. So what I'm inviting that brother to do is to, to get with us, get some discipline, start eating 1 meal every 24 hours between the hours of 4 and 6. Why? Because doing that will prolong your life. So teaches the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And now today, the scientists have caught up with him and are bearing witness to what God revealed to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's not intermittent fasting. It's eating 1 meal a day, which we've been teaching since the 1930s. The scientists are just now catching up.
Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. And on the third point that you wanted to make earlier, you were saying to read the proper foods.
Yeah. So the 3 big things, right? The 3 big things is to remove all pork from your diet. Number 2 is to eat 1 meal a day, 1 meal every 24 hours. And let me say this, because many of us like brothers, like we didn't come in the nation, oh man, I'm ready to eat 1 meal a day. I'm just like, we didn't, like we were Negroes like everybody else. So myself personally, I can speak for my personal self, right? Brother Ahmed grew up in the nation, so maybe he had a different experience. But when I was growing up, brother, I ate as much, I ate all the time. I ate whenever I wanted to eat, snacks, meals, whatever the case may be. I worked at every fast food restaurant, right? Taco Bell, McDonald's, Wendy's, all of them, right? Every last one of them, and ate everything that they produced in the restaurant. Quarter pounder with cheese. I didn't like Big Macs, pancakes, you know, I ate it all. Whatever they had that I liked, I ate it. Fries, chicken nuggets, soft tacos, Mexican pizzas, whatever you name that's on the menu at the fast food restaurants, I ate all of that. My mother, may Allah be pleased with her. If my mother was right here with me right now, she would tell you that all that boy ate was meat and bread. That's all that boy ate is meat and bread, right? I go to the family reunion. If it's fruit, I'm not even looking at it. The only fruit I would eat is a strawberry now later, right? Not eat no vegetable. Eat some broccoli, man. I'm not eating no broccoli. Better get out my mouth. Absolutely not. I'm telling you what my life was before I came in the nation. Now I worked at McDonald's in Atlanta, right? Shout out to A-Town. And while I was working at McDonald's on Buford Highway in Atlanta, one day, you know how you switch over from breakfast to lunch, right? So all the food from breakfast, as anybody who worked in fast food, you know what they do. They throw it away. And we sit there and be like, man, why don't you just give it to the homeless, right? So what I would do when they would switch over from breakfast to lunch, I would eat the food, right? Whatever it was, bacon, it don't matter. Whatever it was, I'm eating it. So one day, they were switching over from breakfast to lunch, and I decided to make a pancake, right? They have a little thing where you squirt, right? A little cylinder, and you put the batter in the cylinder, and you press the button, and it squirts out a perfect pancake.
I think we all worked at McDonald's, brother. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so we switching over from breakfast to lunch, and I just keep pushing the button on the batter squirt thing, right? And the pancake's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? I get 2 spatulas and flip the pancake over with 2 spatulas, right? Then I get the bacon from the bacon tray and lay it on top of the pancake that is huge at this point. And then I take the pancake and roll it up like a blunt. I don't lick it, right? I roll it up like a blunt and took it in the break room and ate a pancake bacon blunt while I was working at McDonald's. True story. So now I ate all the food in the restaurant. When I went to college as a freshman, like you read in the bio, and came back and was eating 1 meal a day and was no longer eating pork. Listen to this. I'm sitting in the same restaurant where I ate all the food. And I'm sitting in there reading books and drinking coffee. And the white man who was the owner came over to me. He's like, man, what's wrong with you? You used to eat all of my food, and now all you do is read books and drink coffee. Now, notice he didn't say what's right with you. He asked, I'm reading books. Like Negroes, y'all can't read books. He asked, what's wrong with you? So I'm only saying that to say to all the brothers and sisters that's watching, all the viewers, we ate the same way everybody else ate. We didn't fall from the sky eating 1 meal a day. So we had to get to the point where we learn how to eat 1 meal a day. So you just can't go from 3 or 5 meals a day to 1 meal a day. You hurt yourself. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad says you go from 3 meals a day. Most of our people eat 5 meals a day, eat all day. You got to go from 5 meals and snacks down to 3 meals. You can do that in a week, down to 2, down to 1. You have to gradually take yourself down from eating all throughout the day, wearing your stomach out, to eating 1 meal a day. Once you start eating 1 meal a day, what you're going to notice is that you have more energy, that you feel better, that your thoughts are clearer, that you're losing all of this unnecessary body fat. Then your immune system is going to become stronger. Now, the brother just sent you a text about intermittent fasting. Brother, go and look at the health benefits of eating one meal a day, because the white man has done all the research now. So those of you who rejected what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, because you thought he was crazy telling us to eat one meal a day, the white man has done all the research and is now proven that if you eat one meal a day, that you improve in every aspect of your health, period, point blank.
You know what I would like to do, Brother Abdul? On your lecture going ham, you did that live demonstration with the
Yes,
blender
sir.
with the food. How about we do that on podcast? I'm gonna see if we can get that approved and we can do that on podcast. Well,
Yes,
how
sir.
would you like to do that? I put some money with it.
Yeah, so no, we definitely can do we definitely can make that happen for a future date. Yes, sir.
The only thing I didn't agree with that though, when you was doing it, I think you was like overdoing it with you like both of these big. You had the 245 and you two.
Right.
That was just too much eating. I think I don't think nobody eat like that for real.
Brother, that's not true, brother. You know, that's how our people eat, brother. You got to be around our people, brother. Our people, brother. When I did that, and I've done that lecture in different cities, and when I did that lecture, I actually had to go to those restaurants and get that food. I mean, you know, they didn't donate it, they didn't bring it to. I actually had to go stand in line,
Right,
and get the food, brother. That was a mild version of what our people eat in one day. Now, I may have been, I do admit, like in some of the language, I may be a bit dramatic for effect, absolutely. But as far as what our people eat, brother, no, sir, brother. That's easy peasy for black folks to eat what I had on that stage that day.
And just quickly before final words, when you're eating those many meals in one day, right?
Right.
Just briefly explain how did that affect your system? So,
brothers and sisters, the human body can only digest one meal in 24 to 36 hours. And it depends on what you eat. Some stuff takes longer to digest than others. But the body can only digest, it takes 24 to 36 hours to digest one meal. And in the book, I break down the times that it takes in each part of the digestive system. So the food is in the stomach and it's in the book for like 2 to 4 hours. Then it goes to the small intestines, right? Then the large intestines, it may be there for like 10 to 16 hours. But when you add up the times, it's 24 to 36 hours based on what you're eating. If you eat something that's high in fat, it takes longer for the stomach to break that down. If you eat meat, it takes longer for the stomach to break that down and process it, right? But the average meal takes anywhere from 24 to 36 hours to digest. So if one meal takes 24 to 36 hours to digest, and you put 5 meals in, then what's going to happen? We all know. Because all of us have been driving on the expressway, right? And we on the expressway, and when the cars start to back up, sometimes there's an accident, and sometimes it's just too many cars on the highway, right? So now when we have too many meals in the digestive system and we continue and repeat that, then what happens? Every food that we eat has poison in it, the best foods. That's why we go to the bathroom, because a bowel movement or when we urine, that is the body releasing the poison that was in the food we ate and what we drink, because every food and drink has something in it that is not good for the body. And the body needs time to collect all of that through all the parts of the body and to put it in a place where that poison can be ejected from the body. That process takes 24 to 36 hours. If we put 5 meals in, and most of us eat all day, if we put 5 meals in one day, we're not giving the body time to do what? To process the poison that comes naturally with food and to get rid of that poison. So what happens? So rather than effectively getting rid of all the poison that's in the foods that we eat, the body starts to store these toxins in fat inside of the body. And the toxins that's in the fat stored in the body, that is what starts to make us sick. That is what gives us the cancer. That is what gives us the high blood pressure, the heart disease, the strokes, the cirrhosis, all of these diseases that Black people and the people of the world suffer from. One meal a day, it's not even an argument, because the white scientists, many of us, all we wanted was the white man to say, when people say, man, brother, I hear what you're saying, but do you have any proof? What are they saying? All they saying is, are there any white people who agree with you? So the white scientists now have borne witness to the truth of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he got from God Almighty.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's put that together. I don't have a problem investing in that food with you. I want to do a live.
We can make that happen, bro. That's not a problem.
All right. So look, we had the portion of the show. We do final words. I'm gonna actually give you the first final word, Brother Abdul. Final words, Top Soldier.
So my final word is that for all the brothers, I know this is a show for Black men, but for the Black family. But you can't have a Black family if you don't have a Black man. All of us, men and women, are assets, are valuable in the sight of God, right? And God, when we talk about eating to live, right, what we're really looking at is God's love for us, because God loves us so much that he gave us a way of life that would prolong our life if we would accept it, right? All of us want to live. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said even a fool wants to live. So we have in How to Eat to Live, book 1 and 2, and of course in my book, Going Ham, which breaks down the details. We have not a diet from Dr. So-and-so or this person so-and-so. What we have is directly from God himself, who is the creator of this form that we call the human body. And so we have it directly from him, the best foods to eat, when to take those foods, and the foods that we need to stay away from. And that is found in the books How to Eat to Live. And to get more detail and a breakdown of why we don't eat pork, that's in Going Ham, the truth about pork.
Praise be to Allah. Brother Warren, final words.
Man, this has been a great experience. Our audience should know why the doctors and the scientists don't tell them the truth now about pork, because our dear brother Abdul broke it down clearly. No one can say there's not evidence that they've heard, which we just heard live from Brother Abdul, that pork is not good for us in any shape, form, or fashion. So, I want to say that should be a rallying cry, as our dear brother said. The first thing we should cut out is pork. And I'll leave right there.
Praise be to Allah. And my final words, Brother Abdul. First of all, I'd like to thank you for taking our invitation and coming to the show. I remember seeing you at Savior's Day. You was sprinting by, and I got out of ranks because I wanted to make this show, man. You spoke your word to it, and I really appreciate it. Look, brother,
all praise is due to Allah.
I know you've been putting in work for a lot of years. I mean, and your work, you got very good body of work, very solid. Going Ham was one of the first videos that I seen. I was introduced to when I got my ex. So it's real big honor for me to interview you. And when that was one of my original videos that I saw when we was making a trip to Philadelphia, I think we went for a Holy Day of Atonement. So it was an honor. I really want you to sign this book. And
I got you. Yes, sir. I got you.
Yes, sir. And I want you to keep doing what you're doing. I know you're going through a lot in your own personal endeavors. We already know that God is behind you.
Absolutely.
Farrakhan is totally supporting you. And hopefully we can bring you back on the show to talk about that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. So I thank you for that, sir. And I know you got to go. You can hang on, but we do have another announcement. That I promised we were going to get off. We have a very active Nine Ministries, a very active, very progressive student protocol director in the Southern region. and she has an announcement that she want our brother Warren to get off. So, brother Warren, this you got the flow.
Yes, sir. If you can, Brother Kawi, while I'm announcing it, please put up the flyer. We have a special event being sponsored by Muhammad Moss, number 15 of Atlanta Student Protocol Department, led by our great Southern Regional Protocol Director, Sister Sabira. And it's called Muhammad's Day, as you can clearly see on the flyer. It's a meet and greet for our active and registered transferees over the past 5 years that have a lot of them transferred during the time of COVID and so forth. And on that day, July 6th, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Ark, Muhammad wants your skills and talents. That's going to be 2 days after the God who came to declare our independence on July 4th. But he didn't just come to make us into a nation of followers. He came to make us into a nation of gods and to set up a government. He came with a government upon his shoulders. So that government that we're going to introduce those who have transferred to Atlanta over the past 5 years is called the 9 Ministries. And not only do we want to introduce you to the 9 Ministries, we want to ignite the 9 Ministries by you joining and being a part of a ministry that you can exemplify your skill, your talent, your gift, so that you can help to make our nation a nation that will never fall again.
Come on, bro.
And lastly, we will have the Ministry of Arts and Culture performing. And as you can see on the flyer, we have a special DJ Rockwell, our dear brother, Oya Man. He'll be performing his hit single, I Love My Brothers. We have our great brother Dez, who's going to be giving us some of that Caribbean reggae. We call him the reggae ambassador. And of course, we have right there on the bottom left, he looks like me. His name is Jigo, and it stands for Justice, Equality, Energy, God One. He's going to be bringing you his newest single, We Demand Reparations. And on the piano, we have our dear sister Nazira. Oh, man, you have not heard piano playing? You thought Alicia Keys was something? Come down. And lastly, but not least, we have our dear brother Najim, who's going to be on the saxophone, giving you music for your soul. So with that, we want all of the transferees in the Atlanta metro area who are now at Moss number 15 to come down July 6th, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Ark. Look it up and you'll find the address. I believe it's 3638 Campbellton Road Southwest in Atlanta, Georgia.
Beautiful.
May Allah bless
Beautiful, brother.
with a light of understanding. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Well, with that being said, the beautiful show. Once again, Brother Abdul, thank you for gracing us with your presence and your information.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you for the invitation.
Please go on Amazon. Get the book, Going Ham, The Truth About Pork. This is the author right here. He has other books. Please get your copy, and we're going to try to set it up the next time you come to the show. Maybe you have 5 autographed copies in the.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir. We can make that happen.
Praise be to Allah. We're in the great words of DJ Khaled. Another one.